Now I'm going to hand over to Helen Crampin from Innovate UK, who's going to talk about the competition in more detail.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, thank you, Marcia, and thank you for just introducing SBRI and me and what we're trying to do. It's really lovely to hear that whole strategy being laid out there, because this is something that we're obviously, as a Healthy Aging Challenge, you know, we're really trying to push. We're trying to push the agenda. A little bit about me. So I'm Helen Crampin. I'm one of the innovation leads for the Healthy Aging Challenge. There are 3 of us. So we've got Julia Glenn. She leads on the Design for Aging competition, which Marcia just mentioned, and opens in September. And then we have Chris Ward, who leads on the Trailblazers, and they're quite big projects that are already up and running. So I lead on the social ventures. I also lead on charity partnerships, a scheme that we're hoping to get off the ground as well later on in the year. And I also lead on the investor partnerships program. Now, I am going to mention the investor partnerships program a little bit at the end, just so you can, you know, hear a little bit more about, you know, as Marcia just alluded to, we've got other funding opportunities, and there could well be businesses on this call that may be eligible for investor partnerships. So I'll just mention that quite briefly. So who are we? We are the Healthy Aging Challenge, and we are supporting businesses, obviously, that work on solutions for people as they age. One of the things we're really trying to do is address social inequalities, and this is the thing we talk about the most, and actually I think it's the thing we do least well. So, you know, we have got lots of projects up and running, and, you know, we try and talk about impact, and we try and talk about social impact. But some of these projects, and this became clear to me last year, some of the projects weren't actually addressing these really, you know, deep unmet needs. And I'm new to this, so I was new to social enterprise. I didn't really know much about social enterprise. And I realized quite quickly they are delivering these services, these products, these solutions. All of this innovation was going on, and actually they just weren't getting funding. They, you know, it's really difficult to get funding. There's so many barriers. So I started, I won't say banging on about it, but I did start banging on about it, and I haven't stopped. And I'm really quite excited and proud that we've managed to get this competition going. UKRI have never done it before, so we've never supported social enterprises. So this is considered as a pilot, and I'm really hopeful it's successful, and I'm really hopeful that next year we can have some more funding. And those applicants that are successful this round will be eligible to apply for that second round next year. So, you know, fingers crossed. So I'm sure you know about the 7 themes we cover. So this is one of the things that makes our challenge exciting. We cover lots of different sectors. So, you know, lots of different projects, lots of exciting innovation in all of these 7 themes. So we would expect any business that applies for this competition or any of our competitions to be covering at least one of the 7 themes. You don't have to cover all 7, obviously, but one of those themes. So I'm not going to talk about SBRI, as Marcia said. You know, we're using it as a tool, basically. We're using it as a tool to get 100% funding to social ventures. It was the only way we could do it. It was the only way we could run a competition that didn't require match funding. And a lot of social ventures cannot bring match funding. So, you know, this is why we went down the SBRI route. We're doing it a little bit differently, which I'll cover a bit later on. So there is a large focus on R&D, obviously, throughout the programme, obviously, because the whole purpose is to develop solutions to meet the challenge that we've set out. It's flexible and it's agile, so that's one of the other reasons we're quite keen to use this as a mechanism. So why social ventures? And really, I've just kind of mentioned why, but that we've sort of discovered quite early on that social ventures are delivering fantastic solutions to exactly the market we're trying to really help. My investors, my commercial investors, they just do not want to invest in social enterprise. It's too risky. The long-term view is there's lots of different barriers, and I've got another slide that lists the barriers, which I don't think you really want to look at, to be honest. But you know why we want to fund social ventures. I think one of the things I really have found that most of the founders have lived experience, so you really understand the market. You've got those unique insights that are so valuable. And, you know, the founders that I know quite well now that run social ventures just have that passion that a for-profit organisation that they just don't always have. So many different reasons why we want to do this. So there's your barriers to funding, which I'm not going to go through because I'm sure you're all very familiar with them. So what we're looking for, this is where we get down to scope and eligibility. So firstly, you obviously have to be a social venture, social enterprise, CIC, however you define yourself, you need to meet this criteria. We've had to be quite, we've tried to do this in the right way. We've worked with organisations across the whole of the United Kingdom to get this criteria. So it includes the businesses we want to include, and it excludes the businesses that we really don't want. So you know if you're a social enterprise, and if you're not a social enterprise, you know you're not a social enterprise. You can become a social enterprise really quickly. Actually, I did find this out recently, and there are a number of businesses who have become social enterprises almost overnight just so they can apply for this funding. So it's very interesting. So we would expect you to have a lead customer in place. So for the feasibility projects, we are going to be less, what's the word? We will, for the bigger projects, we will want you to have a lead customer that you at least have an agreement in principle with. Okay, it's not enough to say I'm chatting with so-and-so about this project and they're interested. We want you to have identified a route to market, and we want you to have identified a customer, at least one customer. For the smaller feasibility projects, we want you to talk about the lead customer. We want you to describe your route to market. We want you to have ideas about where you're going and how you're going to do it, about how you're going to scale and grow. So, you know, there's going to be different expectations for the different streams because there's a different amount of funding associated with each stream, okay? And then, you know, we're looking for the usual things. So, you know, we want you to be thinking about scaling. We want you to have ambitions to scale or be able to scale. Again, that clear route to market. We want you to understand who your customers are. This is about being customer-led. This is about being customer-centric and really having that design for aging at the centre of your products or services and whatever, you know, whatever the solution is. Again, I just want to also touch on the fact that we're very, very keen on services. This is not just about a high-tech product, okay? This is about services that can impact people's lives. And obviously, you know, we're Innovate UK, so we want innovation, but this could be an old product. It could be an old service. It could be something off the shelf that you are using in a really new, clever way to have an impact on the people that you want to have an impact on. And then the other things around sustainability and obviously inclusivity and those sorts of things as well, we'd expect you to be thinking about. So we've already launched. We launched on the 19th of July. The funding amounts are, as on the slide here, we've got 4 million across the whole scheme. So we are running this slightly differently. So normally there would be 2 streams, one run first, and then successful applicants from round 1 of that would apply to round 2. We're running the 2 streams at the same time. And actually this is really down to time, because we have to close projects by March 2024. So, you know, we needed to do something quite fast. So that's why we're doing it in this way. As I mentioned before, there is a possibility we will have further funding next year for the feasibility projects. So I'm really hopeful that, you know, that will happen. So 25 to 50 for the feasibility, and they can last up to 12 months. And then the larger amounts for the industrial research or prototyping, and they can last up to 24 months. We do have lots of information on our websites around what feasibility means and what industrial research and experimental development means. So if you've got any questions around that, you can either ask me directly, you can go to customer support, or you can, you know, go to the website, have a read of the information on there to help you decide which one is best for you, which one is suited for your business. It closes on the 15th of September, 11 o'clock in the morning. So you've all got time to submit and, you know, and get your applications in. I would always recommend that you don't rush these applications, that you read the questions very carefully, and that you look for support where you can get it. You can submit literally at 11 o'clock on the 15th. You don't have to rush these applications. We're trying to make sure the best businesses can get these applications in. Okay, all projects have to finish by March 2024, and they really need to start March 2022, depending on the duration of the projects. And just finally, I'm going to quickly touch on investor partnerships. So this is a scheme whereby we work with commercial investors who provide 50% of project costs as private equity, and we provide the rest of it, 50% of it, as grant. So we're working with, you can see a pool of investors at the moment. It's all around healthy aging, so they're interested in businesses who are developing these products that cover our 7 themes. They are interested in a very diverse range of projects. One of our investors, Nesta, is an impact investor, so they are interested in talking to social enterprises. They have a much wider view, on who they invest in. And 24 Haymarket as well. They're a young company. They're a pool of angel investors, but a number of their angel investors are again impact investors. So, I mean, this is for anyone on the call who might have a bigger project that they think could be eligible for this. If you think you're eligible to talk to some of these investors, then just contact me directly and we can have a chat around your project. One of the other things we're really trying to do, we hope this just happens naturally, is the graduates from the SBRI programme will then be attractive to our investors. So, there could well be follow-on funding from the investors if your project's been successful. So this is something we're, really trying to promote. We've got 6 projects to date, and they're all very, very different. And one of them is a social enterprise, and that's Beyond Hand. So, just to say again that they will invest in a social enterprise if it ticks all the other boxes. Okay. So yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Helen. We've now got some time for questions and answers. If you could raise your hand on the more button down the bottom, and when we come to you, if you could quickly introduce yourself, and Helen and Marcia will be able to answer any questions, hopefully.
You're all still on the call, so somebody must have at least one question.
Oh, Sandra, would you like to ask your question? You're on mute, Sandra.
Got it. Hi. I'm so impressed by this. I'm so pleased. I put in the chat box, thank you to Helen for fighting for the funding for social enterprises. And I run a social enterprise in North Wales. And I was wondering about the process and the timeline from now to, presuming there'll be an application and interview process, and then the giving of the grant if people are successful. I'm just wondering about that timeline.
Okay, so the competition is open. So I don't know if I will be able to put the links in the chat, but it's probably more helpful if we send all the links out separately after the call. So there are 2 links, one to the feasibility and one to the industrial research. So you need to go to the application page, and then you need to just follow those steps. If you've never applied through Innovate UK before, it is made quite easy for you. There are a number of tabs that you have to go through, and then you go through the actual application process. So there are a number of questions you have to answer, and you have to hit, obviously you have to hit that threshold for assessment. It will be the competition closes 15th of September, and then it will go to assessment. We are hoping assessment normally lasts between 6 to 8 weeks, depending on what types of assessors we have. And then we may interview some of the projects. We're not going to interview all of the projects. We're not going to interview we may, I have to keep saying we might interview some of the feasibility projects. So if we get projects that are just hitting below the 70% threshold that we think are really good projects, we might feel we want to interview them to dig further into what exactly they're trying to do, you know, to try and, you know, give the best chance we can to those good projects. It's hard to fill out these application forms sometimes to meet the requirements for assessment, particularly around, you know, project management and, you know, those types of things. So, you know, we are actually more interested in impact. So again, that's why we might, you know, do some interviewing. So hopefully you will get to know by mid-December if you've been successful, and then you'll be able to, you know, you'll get your it's not a grant offer letter, it's procurement, so contract, you'll get your contract and hopefully be up and running February, March time. That's what we're looking for.
Thank you very much, Helen. Sandra, is it any follow-up questions, or are you? Yeah, you're good. Fab. We've got a question from Judith Hughes as well. Judith, if you could unmute yourself and just give us a quick introduction.
Hi, I'm Judy Hughes. I'm the Secretary for Brynham and Lido that we're about to take on as an asset transfer and reopen. We want to make it a year-round rather than just a fun-friendly family facility that it used to be, and involving older people in it, including me, is really important to us. And my question was, does this have to be about a product? Can it be about innovative ways of getting older people into the facility and using their experience and their memories and things like that to engage them?
Absolutely, yes. That's an easy answer, yes.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Any follow-up questions, Judith, or you have? Yeah.
I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Next question is from James Sheridan. James, if you could just unmute yourself and give us a quick introduction, please.
Yeah, hi, Jamie Sheridan from a project called the Ageing Curve up in the Rebel Lands of Northwest Wales. So yeah, thanks for coming to Wales, Helen. And I have a question. I'm a business, but I'm very keen to work with social enterprises and link in. It's the idea is possibly some inclusion, some local networking and various things, which I think social enterprise would be very good at, you know, as an add-on or as an affiliate partnership. In terms of the SBRI, Helen, how does you said finding a client, finding a customer is obviously important for the service or product offer. How can do you want consortium of applications? It's a single application, or can the client be sort of a partner as well?
Can the lead customer be a partner as well? Yes, it could. Yes, it could be. Yeah, that's a good question. I've not really thought about that, to be honest. But there are a lot of enterprises out there whose partner actually does, you know, pay for the service. So I'm saying yes, but I think I might just have to check that one, to be honest, because it mightn't
fit with the SBRI. I'm conscious.
Yeah, because if you're,
I get that.
Yeah, and if you're a partner, then you're actually paying yourself twice, in essence, if you know what I mean.
And I suppose secondly to that, then the sort of design and aging competition that's coming up, and the various other UKRI Innovate UK initiatives, and hopefully there might be some funding out of the Welsh Government. The report that's coming, that's going to be nice and joined up, obviously. You know, can we sort of as a private business, does that then fit with working with the social enterprise as well as some of the upcoming funding? Say, for instance, designing aging. If I was to go for that.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, I'd have to understand a bit more about the exact project, but yeah, I mean, I'd still would have, maybe be interested just to talk to you offline about what exactly you're doing and what, you know, if you applied for this, what your exact project would be, because it does sound quite interesting. Whether you would fit or not, I don't know. But yeah, design for aging, maybe. It would, yeah, let's have a conversation. I'm happy to have, by the way, everybody, I'm happy to have conversations, you know, out of this meeting. So my details will be made available, and please do feel free to reach out, and, you know, we can have a chat about your specific projects if you want to.
Thank you very much indeed.
And again, I'll, you know, Julia Glenn, who's the lead for Design for Aging, I can make her details available as well, which would, I think, would be quite useful.
Fantastic, thank you, Helen. Do we have any more questions? Well, we've got Marcia and Helen.
It's not a question, Kerry-Ann, but I've just put something in the chat bar that Judith's question made me think of a couple of things I didn't mention. So you know, we're quite fortunate in Wales. We've got some good university groups doing some interesting work in this space. Swansea University have something called Centre for Aging and Dementia Research, Gallai'r. So they've got access to academics who may help you refine some of your thinking, but also stakeholder groups, and also Age Cymru do have those. So Judith asked a specific question about Age Cymru. So I know Innovate UK are often keen that you show engagement with stakeholders who will actually use these facilities. So even if it's you know, if you're developing a service, which is this is very much targeted at, that sort of engagement that ensures that that service matches the needs of the people that you're aiming it at. So I will get back to you on access to Age Cymru and who are the right people there. So I'll take that as an action, Judith, and get back to you probably through Kerry-Ann, if that's okay. That'd be brilliant. And James, thank you. You've corrected me there that Gallai'r is across Wales, so Bangor University are also involved in that. So they've got access to, I think that's through the psychology group as well. So a wealth of expertise, I think, is the message there across local universities, but also access to people in England too.
Thank you, Marcia. We've got a question from Donna. Donna, if you could just unmute yourself and give a quick introduction, please.
Thanks, Kerry-Ann. Hi, I'm a colleague of Kerry-Ann's. I work at the Wales Cooperative Centre. I have now since 2016 really been leading on our programmes, projects, services, all to do with sort of social care, well-being, support, and obviously always looking for sort of cooperative solutions, and quite closely linked to the Social Services and Wellbeing Act. And we work with different sort of groups of people within that. I guess it's about the competitiveness of it, Helen, really. You know, what's your experience? And there's just being something new. You've obviously got the two strands, different amounts of money for each strand. Is it terribly oversubscribed? Are people likely to get sort of big amounts? Can you just give us a flavour? And it's lovely to know that there's universities out there, you know, that we can hook in with. I'm just conscious we're in the middle of August and we've got a deadline of this in the middle of September, and it's all a bit quiet really because of the annual sort of summer holidays.
Yeah, so from the competitive point of view, yeah, we've got a lot of interest, obviously, for this. You know, it is something new, and the fact that it's 100% funding. We are up at 70 applications so far that haven't been submitted but are underway, and 50 of those are for the industrial research. So we only have 4 million. So we've got 1 million for the feasibility, which is up to 50,000, and then obviously we've got 3 million for industrial research. So we could, well, yeah, it could. I don't anticipate it becoming a problem. I think that, you know, we will have just the right amount of really good quality projects that are eligible. What we normally find is 15 to 20% of anybody who applies isn't eligible anyway. And we've got a lot of people who are trying to limbo under the social enterprise criteria in some way. So I have no sense at the moment of who and what those projects are. So that, you know, once they've been submitted, that's when I'll be able to see. if we find, if we find we need to manage the portfolio a little bit, we can apply a portfolio approach, so whether that's through theme or geography, whatever, but we might do that. And again, if we get a lot of interest and it's way oversubscribed, then the message will be internally, we need to do this again. So, hopefully that's what will happen. But yeah, at the moment, I feel it's going to be okay. I don't feel we'll be oversubscribed. I think 70 is okay. I think I was anticipating around 100, and then there's going to be, at least 50% of those are going to fall away. So yeah, but only time will tell. I shouldn't say things like that, should I?
Thanks, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've had a question from Hayden in the chat. Hayden, are you able to just unmute yourself? Are you still there? Okay, Hayden's asked in the chat, Helen, whether RSLs, registered social landlords, are eligible for the competition.
Oh, that's a good one. If you are not for profit and you fit some of those other criteria that we have in the eligibility, then yes, you would be.
Very good. Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. I work within the neighbourhood services as an assistant manager. We are running a new project which provides some assistance to the elderly within our stock and within the private sector. This is a new pilot scheme that we are running, and we were thinking of trying to get some grants to try and help to sustain it, because there's not cost involved in it. And I just thought that we would be able to make a bid for any grants in the future. We are non-profit, I can assure you of that, but
Yeah.
I'll speak to my colleagues and get in touch with you as soon as possible.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, have we got any more questions for Helen or for Marcia? I think this.
Hello, I'd like to ask a question. I'm the principal of a water sports centre in New Quay, and we are a registered charity. I'm interested in the sustaining physical activity aspect of all of this. So I'm just wondering, we have some ideas of what we would like to do, but your question or point about having a lead customer in place, I'm not quite sure how we could fit in around that. Yeah, because
I don't know anything about your projects and what you're doing, but I presume that people are paying to come. Are you delivering a service already?
Yes. We've been going now since 2003. We've set up as a community development project. Okay, so you have paying customers. Yes. So you have lead customers in place. Yeah. Yeah. So you have lead customers. Okay. I wasn't quite sure what that meant. Yes, we're quite interested in attracting more sort of older people into. We've got various water sports, but an interesting one for some people is obviously sailing. And whilst we have an awful lot of equipment, which is ideal for those under 60-ish, we've only got a modest amount which is suitable for older people. Without giving too much away, I'm approaching 80, and we're going racing next week. And it's a good way of keeping active and being out in the open air, and just a healthy thing to do. So what we'd like to do is to attract more people to that, but we would need to have some sort of additional equipment. I don't know whether that could come in under the feasibility side of things. Yeah, I mean, I think feasibility, you've probably done the feasibility part of that. I mean, obviously exercise is really good for older people. So, you sort of ticked a box there and you're already delivering. I don't know enough about your project to be able to say exactly what you're doing, but
you're already delivering this to people already, you want to deliver it to a different group of people. So yeah, it would come under feasibility to see if there is a need for that, and whether you know there are enough older people who would want to throw themselves onto a boat and but no, I suspect the answer to that is yes. And I would suspect the answer that one of the things is older people just don't have access to that type of thing. So that you know, it's an interesting concept. But yeah, again, if you want to have a chat with me about a specific project, then you know, please contact me.
Yes, I'd like to do that.
It does sound as if you are eligible, you know, just from what you've told me.
Right. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you very much. We've had a question in the chat from Sarah with music in mind. Sarah, are you able to unmute yourself and ask your question? Oh, you're still on mute, Sarah.
Yes, there we go. There's so many buttons to press. Hi, I'm from With Music in Mind. We run singing and social groups for older people in the community. And during the pandemic, we couldn't run our groups in the community. So we kind of tried to run an adapted service in which we've been doing some sing-along videos and that kind of thing. And this has led to the idea of partnering up together with music and some care homes, and trying to look at not just getting recorded things into care homes, but getting maybe one of our live sessions, live streaming it into care homes, so that people's homes where they don't have the mobility to come out to us, getting that to them. And yeah, so that's the kind of where we're at the moment. Would that be something, do you think, that you could look at?
Yes. Yep. I mean, to be fair, there are a few things like this out there. So, you know, there is quite a lot of competition in this market actually now, especially with COVID. So again, you need to think really carefully about what's different about you, you know, what makes you different and what makes you unique. But yes, definitely, it sounds as if you'd be eligible. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Fantastic. We've also had a question from Alicia from Community Health Choirs. Alicia, are you able to unmute yourself, please, to ask your question?
Hi there. Yes, it's basically what I've popped into the chat. I run a social business called Choirs for Good, and our choirs are community healthcare and well-being choirs. So we are open to absolutely anyone if they've been facing a healthcare problem, a mental health problem, and also for their loved ones and for their carers who are also impacted by their illness. But because of that, we don't have an age limit, but it does tend to be older folks who come to us because they're usually the ones who might have multiple health things going on, but also are looking for the social aspect of what the choir offers, which we're very, very keen on promoting. So basically, yeah, that's my question. If we tend to cater to older demographics, but we're not necessarily targeted at older demographics because we do want anyone to feel that they can come to our choirs. So would we be eligible in that way?
Yes, you would. What you would have to do in your application is really focus on the ageing aspect of your project, basically, you know, which themes are you addressing? But one of the things that we are obviously really passionate about is social isolation. And one of the things that we find is intergenerational activities really address social isolation. So you are ticking boxes there. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, Fab. Thank you for that.
And Sondra has a question about undertaking research. Sondra, would you like to unmute yourself and just...
Hi. Yeah, I'm interested in research aspect of well-being. I've sort of just set up a social enterprise with a well-being aspect or a project, and we're moving into our well-being centre on the 6th of September. Yay! So one of the things I did, I recently did some research around quality of life and social support, and I wanted to look at the possibility of doing some postdoctoral studies that links the well-being centre with other forms of, you know, wider social social prescribing types of research. So my question is, have you any advice, guidance for social enterprises that want to be involved in this type of initiative, but also do some research with it?
I mean, you can build research into a feasibility project, because partly, obviously, that's what a feasibility project is, you know, and obviously SBRI is about research and development. If it's to fund you to do a PhD, then no. But if this
no,
is,
I've got the PhD. This is already, so it is a funded PhD.
If this was to provide data points for your project, then yeah, that is eligible. There are quite strict criteria around what isn't eligible as a cost, and I don't have those in my head. So what I would say is go to the website and really have a look at you know, what it says on there. We recorded the applicant briefing session. I don't know if anyone attended it, but that really did go into these questions. And you know, the competitions team, they kind of they have a whole load of information on what isn't eligible as a cost. So what I would say is go and have a look and see what is and isn't eligible, and then yeah, take it from there. And also obviously I can make the link available. In fact, I think the link to the webinar, the applicant briefing webinar, is on the competition webpage now, so you'll be able to play, you know, actually put that recording. And I know it does talk about the research element, I'm sure it does. So yeah.
Just an additional point, Sandra, on the work you're keen on. If it does seem to be out of scope of the Innovate UK call, then it's worth talking to, if you've identified potential partners for this in universities, because some of those organisations that myself and James mentioned as well, they have things like European funding, and there's certain activity that they can do as part of that. So always worth a discussion with them. They'll know what current calls are as well in addition to that, and have again access to lots of groups and different things that they may be useful for that work. So when I send out those links, then it may be worth making contact with some of those people too.
Fantastic. We've got around 10 minutes left. If there are any more questions, if you can just sort of raise your hand or just unmute yourself and ask a question or pop anything in the chat. Do we have any more questions for Marcia or Helen? Okay, fantastic. We will make the slides available from today and the links that we've posted into the chat. So we'll send them out to the email addresses that you registered with. We've also recorded the session, so we'll make that up via the Wales Co-op website, and we'll pull together a blog as well, so that the links and the information is all in one place. So that will be sent out to you hopefully in the next few days. You've got Helen's and Marcia's email addresses as well, if there are any follow-up questions for either of them. Helen or Marcia, any final comments?
Sorry, just one from me. It's always annoying when somebody keeps on thinking of additional things. A lot of you have a very strong place element to the ideas that are coming forward, and so don't underestimate the power of having your local authorities to sort of back your ideas. There was also ADRA with an RSL, and I think they're really interested in this space. Again, you know, every time I speak to RSLs in Wales, I'm always really encouraged by the type of work that they're doing. And they, you know, it may not quite fit that lead customer, but I think if there's a remotely a housing community element, they're also really good organisations to sort of almost sort of say, you know, look, this is something we're really interested in. You know, perhaps they are part of that access to the lead customer as well. So again, we've got some good local authorities, RSLs in Wales, and use those contacts as well to strengthen that application. So but really pleased to hear of all the ideas coming forward. You're all confirming my gut feeling that this was going to be interesting to us in Wales. So always good to know that you were on the right track and things like that. Thank you.
Helen, any final comments from you?
No, just thank you, Marcia, obviously, for that point. Yeah, and I would echo it. Yeah, if you're worried about lead customer, then just go and find, go out and be creative, and yeah, if you're worried about your eligibility, or maybe you don't think you fit for some reason, please just ask the question. Please do come to me. I am available, and I will be able to help you. We can also help you with signposting. So as Marcia said, we can point you to other organisations that might be able to help. So yeah. And yeah, just to say thank you to everybody for coming, and Marcia and Kerry-Ann for getting it together. And I assume the interpretation worked really well, because I was slightly worried about that. So I thought I was going to have a Welsh male voice coming out of, like the screen, and I would be distracted. So it's been yeah, really interesting. I'm really glad that we've done this. So thanks all for coming.
Fantastic. We'll draw to a close there. As I said, we'll be in touch with the slides and other information. Diolch yn fawr pawb. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.